Like, Ishiki isn't something to be taken, trifling. Like, don't get it twisted. That dude had potential. Like, he was the guy. But don't sit here and, knock Boruto's potential of overcoming things with his genetics. Like, Boruto comes from a high prestige family list. Like, let's just really go down on how badass as a protagonist that he has versus what Naruto has. Like, Naruto, he literally started off with having the most strongest Biju you could possibly possess. On top of the fact that he comes from the Uzumaki clan that is known for having powerful chakra reserves, and on top of that, known for legendary seals. In addition to that, also having a father who is also a prodigy in his own right by literally replicating the Biju's ultimate attack, the Tail Beast Bomb, into the Rasengan, which ties back into Boruto's ability to adapt to his situation and develop the Rasengan even further, as something that was also shown to happen in Naruto as well. So if we know that they have this genetics from blessed, legendary ninjas in the past that have dedicated themselves to working on their, abilities and crafts, then it should be no question, because, Minato was able to replicate the Biju's ultimate attack and develop it into an ultimate attack of his own. And so can Boruto replicate the Ōtsutsuki's and look at their ninjutsu and ultimate attacks and replicate it into, legendary attacks and assaults that can, kill them in trifling, like Naruto did with Sage Mode with the Rasengan. He infused Sage Mode, which is a weakness of the Ōtsutsuki in itself, using nature energy, and he replicated the Biju's ultimate attack with the Rasengan to make it more of a deadly asset. So he replicated a powerful spiral energy and also infused it with a deadly energy that is an extreme weakness and exposed to the Ōtsutsuki. And then on top of that, we have to, express how powerful of a Rasengan that Boruto has made, to the exact point. It's so potent that he suppresses it, that it can literally cancel out another, the same similar scale of power that was infused, the same amount of chakra that was infused to another Rasengan, because he suppresses it and compresses it so much into a small sphere that it literally, the spiral literally cancels out any type of resistance that was literally trying to pull against it or push against it. So it literally is like a spring shot. It literally just shoots whatever you try to project, the projectile that was trying to be launched to him. He literally just slingshots it right back with his own attack on top of the attack that the person that was trying to assault him, he literally turns it around and doubles the assault. That's deadly. No one was able to do anything like that. Imagine you're able to literally utilize your most ultimate attack and also utilize the opponent's ultimate attack and launch both of those things and slingshot both those attacks and literally throw it back to that opponent. And that's not even using the karma. So it's not like he has to charge it up, and then on top of that, he can literally just recharge his chakra. So people saying that, that Boruto doesn't have advantages, even now in the latest chapter with Boruto, he literally absorbed Kawaki's ability to literally try to seal him up like he did his father and his mother, which are two powerful legendary ninjas in their own right. And I genuinely respect that you know, Boruto was able to instinctively, you know, able to combat and activate his karma in the nick of time, because everyone doubts that, you know, Boruto's, you know, prowess is not up to par, but it is. And it also gives me confidence that he has all the necessary utilities to go against Kawaki, if not more threats that's about to come from out of this world. And this is what I've been stressing when it comes to, you know, all these, you know, rumors about what Kawaki is going to be able to do. Kawaki is going to have to hunt. He's going to basically have to get the 10 tails. He's going to have to come up with another strategy to hunt down the rest of these Ōtsutsuki's hideouts and whereabouts and where they are. It's basically like almost like Dragon Ball with the Saiyans and how they scouted, or how they're scattered around, and how they operate going from planet to planet, and how that time difference varies in dimensions. Which dimensions, going through dimensions is a game changer itself if you know where you're going. And when we're talking about Kawaki and his ability to, you know, now he has access to the 8 paths, which is crazy, because it's like he don't have, you know, full mastery over that, thank God, you know, because it's like if he was like Madara, a seasoned fighter, and he had, you know, years of, you know, using his visual eyes, and not only that, toning up his combat ability and maximizing his body by infusing it with Hashirama cells, or in this case, infusing yourself to the max of, you know, Ōtsutsuki cells, and really just getting the most out of your body with the highest potency and training you could possibly put your body through. And the combat of just being able to master all styles and understand on who you're fighting just makes you an unformidable opponent, like literally across anyone that comes your path. And this is what I tie back into when it comes to, you know, Boruto. Boruto literally has to go down this journey of, you know, full mastery. And I want to say this right now, because if Kawaki literally had more tapped into, you know, Ishiki's 8 paths, I don't think anybody would have really been able to contest with him. It would have been a clean, you know, brutal clean out, and he would have got his way. If he was able to do what Boruto, look, the story is always in the protagonist's favor. Boruto is able to tap into way more power than Kawaki is, thanks to Momoshiki. The only reason that Kawaki was able to escape and able to do what he does is because both Boruto and Momoshiki are not on the same page. They're not in sync, for one. Even if they were on the same page, they have to be in sync. And Boruto has to get more adapt to his Ōtsutsuki genetics. And not only that, but the abilities and the potential jutsus that he's going to acquire on top of those things. And hopefully the visual eye prowesses that's going to come following afterwards. That takes time, along with Kawaki training to really open up his and tap into all the vast potential chakra power reserves that he's going to be able to tap into eventually. Because that 8, you know, path is way different than the 6 path. And we have to acknowledge that. And where does Momoshiki, you know, match up in that? And that's why Momoshiki wasn't concerned, because he literally said that our power is in the 2 different scales. Like he's an Ōtsutsuki himself. He knows how to use his abilities, and he's smart about, you know, how much chakra reserves that he has and what will be the best moves to make in order to finish the job, basically. And make no doubt that Momoshiki knows 2 steps ahead on what you're thinking. He is no dummy and idiot. He knows what Kawaki is intending to do and what he is trying to, you know, achieve. Now, he realizes that it was a traumatic experience for Kawaki to have to kill his so-called, you know, brother that he claims him to be. And he realizes the loneliness that he's been experiencing his entire life. So this doesn't come easy for him to have to make that choice without hesitation, but it's his upbringing. So that's what he's going to instinctively do, because he thinks that's the best thing he could do for that said, loved one that he cares very much for. Not to mention, on top of that, how he feels for, Naruto. So from my perspective, I believe that Kawaki is ultimately trying to just seal, Boruto away for a little while, which obviously Momoshiki pick up on. He realizes the weakness, and he realizes that he really isn't a long-term threat. He's more so of a potential gain as he develops even stronger, because he just thinks, okay, it's going to be a better fruit, chakra fruit, if I just let him, grow and develop over time. Because also my host, or in this case Boruto, is going to develop and evolve his genetics and his visual prowess in his body to be able to accurately and with ultimate and precise precision to be able to utilize the visual eye prowesses and his Ōtsutsuki genetics in his body, and his senses and prowesses would definitely enhance and advance his capability of combat and his chances of succeeding where, Momoshiki wants him to be, to eventually take over for a period in time. Now, of course, he has to set up the foundation, which is why Momoshiki wants to take over for a bit, so it can go down the path that he has sought for Boruto. And of course, Boruto is going to try to make this result less of what it already entails. He realizes that it's already set in stone, but he does not believe for a second that he cannot try to prevent the most damage that's going to come during this. War happens, and war is almost unpreventable. Like they say, during war, never forget peace, and during peace, never forget war. Naruto, of course, being Boruto, which is his son, he realizes, seeing his dad and knowing all the stories, that war isn't always something you can, prevent. It's something you just have to be able to understand and face, and be able to know how to utilize what's around you, and be able to predict the best outcome for yourself and prepare for it as mentally as possible, and keeping your spirit high. And that's what Boruto is trying to do. He's trying not to let Momoshiki play that chess game with him by losing the power and command in his psyche. Because the moment he lets that talking manipulation get the best of him is when Momoshiki is going to be able to ultimately win, because Boruto is in the driver's seat. They both share the same psyche now. So if Boruto cannot be in the driver's seat, even if he goes unconscious for a bit and he knocks out, technically his body is still alert and awake, so someone has to operate it. So of course Momoshiki is going to take that advantage, and that's not something everyone wants to see happen anytime soon, not until they find a really good permanent solution to the problem. Now I'm gonna just give my theory and speculation. Of course, it's probably going to get debunked, but I don't think Momoshiki is going to ultimately disappear per se. I feel like he's just going to be there in the background, spiritually, something that he could, contact later. Maybe not all the way to the point where he can take the driver's seat, but somewhere like deep inside where, the genetics. It's basically like if you look up Parasite, what happened to Inosuke, where he basically diluted himself and divided himself so much he just became genetic information, and ultimately he's just going to die off like basically like Ishiki, but not really. Like his spirit is basically just going to be transferred into just chakra itself. It's like what Piccolo did with Kami, where basically it's a complete merger. It's going to be coming down to a decision like, okay, you either, take control. It's like what Naruto did when he fought Kurama for the chakra power. It's either you take control and I'm just basically power, or you are able to take full command and control over this, and I'm just going to be the one that's going to be the power and at your usage. But right now, like, the shadow always wants to follow wherever the light touches. Wherever the light is basking in, that's where the shadow wants to be, at the right place at the right time. And that's where Sadara is. She isn't in front of Boruto. She's behind Boruto, observing everything he's doing. She understands his personality, his character. She is observing everything in her eyes. And that's where the key detail lies in itself. Like Goku once said, power isn't granted to those who wants it and just desire. It's a need. You have to desire that need, be that need. In that crucial moment where Boruto is hopeless and he's powerless, and he goes into the deepest of despair, and her love for Boruto to get him out of this prison, because she realizes that his conscious, spiritually, his will is trapped and locked away. So her going beyond her limitations and acquiring power to grant her the ability to literally be able to overcome these overwhelming obstacles is what's going to manifest her Mangekyou Sharingan. Because when all seems lost, and when there is a deep desire and need for this power, that's when it'll fully awaken in itself, and it fully will manifest, because it will be overwhelming and mounting of deep emotion to the point where it simply cannot be ignored. Like, at this point, like, I feel like Sadara should be able to, not worry about chakra reserves, because with the ninjutsu technology, like, you got to be a dumbass to really believe that you have to keep using your own chakra reserves and just depleting it. Like, I can just see, like, with the Ōtsutsuki, like, they kept linking it back and associating it with it, the ability to just absorb abilities and chakra to the point where they can just dish it back times 10, right? My whole thing is that literally that was the leverage of the Ōtsutskis, and Killer B could have been stupid enough to be thinking that he could just throw a tail beast bomb at them, knowing that they just gonna absorb the shit and just not get tired. Like, you really gotta pay attention to what is going on in your surroundings. Like, you gotta leverage where you can, and that's what they have mastered. Like, years of studying. Like, this technology didn't just grow overnight. They observed, they studied, they learned from their mistakes. Now, I think that the people that used to have leverage got complacent and they start slacking, and they wasn't looking for improvement. That's why, like, they was just a broken record. Like, they just kept on utilizing the same things because it never failed them in the past. So why start changing now? But you gotta recognize that there'll come a day where something doesn't work. If it don't work, 3 strikes, you're out. Like, you gotta make a big change. Like, you gotta make a decision to make a change to make it happen. Like, you gotta have a game plan and turn this around, and just be a team player. Like, just come up with a game plan. Like, change the way that we're going about. You wanna know why Sasuke hasn't been home for Sadara? Because he already realized from jump that you got a plan in head. Like, you got a job to do. I didn't become Hokage. His ideals met and suited what's best for the village to end the cycle of hate. So you have to succeed in the legacy of the Uchiha and being a shinobi and being a shinobi of the Leaf Village to rise up against all the trials and tribulations to become a great Hokage that no one has ever become before. Like, he had high hopes for Sadara, and he knew that he would only hinder it if he distracted her during her journey. And her journey was to literally find her guide, and her guide was literally Boruto. Like, that's why he freed up time to where there was no other choice but to just observe what he was up to. Like, to basically hang out with him. It's not like she had any other extra siblings to hang out with at the time. And to basically be the Shadow Hokage and practice on becoming the true Hokage. Like, follow the Hokage that you idolize's son, and look at the traits and qualities that he has, and be able to observe those things. Do your task to the best of your ability. Acknowledge where your shortcomings are, adjust them, and adapt, and fill your heart with nothing but love, and never, drown yourself in depression or hate or bitterness for anything. Like, those are the trials that Sadara is going through, that we see that Madara should have went through. Like, no matter where it gets to a point where it looks like it's pointless to keep going down this path and trajectory, don't steer away. That's basically what Sasuke is teaching his daughter. Like, he's not trying to influence her thinking. He wants her to learn on her own with no negativity or impurities in mind. Like Itachi said, he said his worst mistake was basically being a bad influence and being around him, trying to pretend to be in that, perfect role model, and falling short. And Sasuke knew that his shortcomings would only hinder her progress. So that's why he didn't even intervene in it. He only stepped in to where he needed to be there. Like, for the photo, that's when he needed to be there. Sometimes if it requires it, he needs to be there just to say, hey, I'm her husband, blah blah blah, this is my daughter. Yeah, for important events, that's where he shows up. But to just sit there and try to just drag it out, no, he doesn't stay that long. And like I said, he just doesn't want to give a bad impression on her, because like kids, they see everything, they absorb everything, and they try to idolize you. But he wanted her to idolize Naruto, which was the Hokage. Like, he's like, this is the best way to break the cycle of hatred. Like, I want you to be able, as a young kid, to not feel jealousy or anger, but just to admire and appreciate and be happy to what is already in front of you, and embrace and just feel love and feel generosity towards everyone around you. Feel accepted, because you are accepted. Like, you just don't see it, you're blind to it. And that's the whole thing. Like with Uchihas, they love so much that they get blindsided to what's around them. Like, Itachi got blindsided to what he had around him. He just let it all crumble away because he was just making reckless choices. And even Sasuke noticed that he was making reckless choices because of influences that manipulated his decision making. Even Obito, they're all in the same. Someone was in their life, they influenced and manipulated their trajectory, and that's how they ended up where they are. Like, Sadara was basically meant and built to go down the right path, because she had a lot of good role models that knew when to step in, when to give advice and pep talks, and knew that she was in a safe environment to where she can grow and develop peacefully with no interventions. And even Sasuke threatened to Orochimaru that you dare come to the village or try to get in contact with Sadara in any manner and try to really, and try to manipulate her thoughts and trying to get more acquainted with him for all the wrong reasons, that he would, lash out at Orochimaru. And who's going to really stop Sasuke, man? Like, this man's at that time was peak God. Like, even Naruto had to admit, like, that's a daily threat where I couldn't even, at the end of the day, really hold back from. Like, obviously Orochimaru would never do that. He got too much respect for both of them, but especially after the Fourth Region Ninja War. But you never know. But that's where the ideal thing came from. Like, Sadara is in good hands. She'll become a good Hokage because she has to break the trajectory where she is an Uchiha, the last of her kind. She has to have, the good grades and everything, the talents that, a Uchiha has been placed on her, as the clan. But she also has to rise even more above that, because she has to, it's like life cycle. It's like reincarnation. Like, she has to make up for the mistakes that they kept making, going down the wrong path and choosing hate instead of love, and just accepting